thank you for joining us. My name is Brandy Brewer, and I'm a doctoral student at the University of Louisville. And today I'm joined by Bryan Cichy-Parker from Oregon. How's the weather there in Oregon right now?
The forest fires have stopped, so that's good.
Plus, yes, yeah, it was 97 here today. So I'm joined by Bryan, and we're going to talk on behalf of the Council for Exceptional Children's Teacher Education Diversity Caucus. So, Bryan, you you just got tenure, correct?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah,
Associate
congratulations on
professor.
that. Yeah.
Thank you.
And at Pacific University, correct?
That's right. Yep.
So your current research interests really look at students and adults in school systems and the intersectionality of various identities as they relate to, oppression and privileges and things of that nature.
Yeah, that's right. I started out mostly looking at the overrepresentation of Black kids in special education programs, because that's where my practice as a special education teacher lies. But recently, as a teacher educator, I've been spending more time thinking about LGBTQ plus issues and just general civil rights and social justice in the classroom. And how do we prepare teachers to be really attentive to building good learning environments, learning communities, and really paying attention to civil rights and social justice.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you for doing my lead-in for me. That's very helpful. So, Bryan, you're also the chair of the LGBTQ plus caucus for CEC. We both, in full disclosure, sit on that board.
Right.
And you are going to be joining us at TED this year as a keynote panelist. Is that correct?
That's right. Very excited about that.
That'll be terrific.
Yeah.
It's going to, I'm very excited about how we are really incorporating this conversation of diversity from the very beginning through.
Yeah, I want to say thank you to TED for pushing that forward. Actually, I had nothing to do with that being brought to the forefront. It's work that other people are doing that I'm just happy to cheer on and to maybe be a front person for it to some extent, but very happy that it's being done.
Well, we're really glad to have you on board, and can't wait to continue this conversation in November, just right around the corner.
Right.
So today you're going to join me in talking a little bit about that intersectionality piece that is comfortable for you, and talking about the ways that you really utilize your knowledge base of those intersectionality pieces as a member of the LGBTQ plus community, and also as an educator. So can you tell us first off the bat, like, what your role is in your institution, and what are some of your scholarly interests right now? We touched on that a little bit at the beginning, but if you could go into a little bit more depth.
Sure. So at the moment, most of my scholarly interests are on hold as I spend more time doing administrative interests with recruiting and paying attention to the teacher shortage in special education. But I serve as the coordinator of our graduate special education program. And so recruitment and program planning and matching our programs to the CEC standards and all that kind of stuff takes up most of the time. The work that I'm trying to do is spending time thinking about how in contentious environments, politically, culturally contentious, how do we meet the needs of our college students to become able to meet the needs of our K-12 students in environments that range all the way from bright red to bright blue. So
yeah, that is I think that is at the forefront of a lot of our minds these days. I think we could all name a couple of key places that may be even more close to our hearts right now. And I would venture to say that all of your current endeavors are in fact scholarly. Um,
There you go.
Practitioner based, certainly is a foundational level for our structure and
Very
our system as a whole. So can you talk a little bit more about how you see your goals for developing an understanding of that intersectionality piece for pre-service teachers, or for for, in some cases, some college students that maybe are still coming to terms with who they are as they're discovering themselves even. I
Yeah.
think that's a piece that we sometimes forget. We talk a lot about in some of these conversations about how we can really shape these future educators to be cognizant of some of the concerns that their students, their future students, will be facing. But I think that you're completely right. It's also very vital that we understand that our current students could also be facing some of these exact situations.
Yeah. So just as an example, one of the classes that I teach multiple sections of it right now, is called Learning Communities. And in this class, most of the people who go into education in our university are people who are, very open to the diverse human experiences that their students will bring to the classroom. But there are also some people who are more conservative in their viewpoints about, what a typical family might look like, or what, the path to success looking more traditional than other people might see it as. And so I think one of the things that I talk to the entire gamut of these students about is how, unless we understand ourselves at a very deep level, we're not going to be available to understand our students at a very deep level. One of the phrases that I repeat a lot in class is that if we don't understand our own baggage, we're going to ask our students to carry it for us. And so one of our first assignments in our class is called the personal profile. And we just finished that last night. And the culmination of that project is where the students spend time in small groups sharing a paper that they write about their own socialization, and how the society has shaped who they are, and then they're able to extrapolate that maybe to how other people have been shaped by society. And that is a starting point. And I was explaining to the students just last night that that's a starting place, because if you don't understand that we all are shaped by our own environments, we won't understand how other people are shaped differently by the different environments that they're coming to us from. So just even doing a little analysis of our predecessors and of life and experience can help us be better teachers to kids who are unlike us. So
Yeah.
that's one of the big messages that I spend time getting across.
Yeah. And I love this for a number of reasons. But I think that it, and we were talking before we started recording just about self-awareness,
Yeah.
and how that is a skill that really many people don't have or were never taught. And so it's terrific that you're really digging in from the beginning with your students to kind of work with them on understanding where they are coming from and how that will relate to their future students. And my work with caregivers, I definitely appreciate those conversations that you're having,
Yeah.
talking about how not all families look the same, and not how not all families family the same.
That's right.
And there are
Yeah.
no straight lines to get to the end goal. So thank you for that work. Um, how do you feel that your personal understanding of teacher education really like addresses your desire to see diversity and equity and inclusion? I mean, we're talking about what you hope you can bring to the table for future teachers. How has that historically been for you in your understanding of that?
Yeah.
And how do you really see that, so talking about where you come from, really, right?
Yeah.
If you can talk a little bit about how those two things play into one another.
Sure. Well, I think one of the critical ideas for all teachers who are going to work cross-culturally is to recognize that um, that that the zone of proximal development is not just something you learn in educational psychology class. So we all have zones of proximal development in every aspect of our lives. And so when we are confronted with a new classroom of kids with whom we haven't worked before, we have a brand new zone of proximal development that we're going to learn about these new kids. And that could be culturally, it could be about their gender, it could be about their sexuality, it could be about their family systems, it could be about their communities. And so, we can't learn, just like we can't learn something that we're not ready to learn. We can't learn something about a student's family structure if we don't know what their family is like, or we haven't listened to them talk about their family. So we have to learn the basic organizations of what the kid has to say before we can start putting expectations or demands on top of that. And that goes the same for every kid, for every classroom. We're always having to think about, what do I currently know, and what could I know if I ask the right questions, and then how will that help me be a better teacher of this kid?
Yeah,
Uh,
and really being open to even wanting to ask those questions. It's really
that's
easy
right.
to shut ourselves off.
That's right. I mentioned at the beginning that that a big part of my original research agenda was the overrepresentation of Black kids in special ed. Well, when I was teaching in behavior programs that did include a lot of Black kids, I was doing things differently than my teacher peers that were working better than some of the things they were doing, and I didn't know why. And that was actually what motivated me to head into getting my PhD. And I found out later that what I was doing was functional behavior assessment, but it was through a cultural lens. So I was understanding what the functions of what the kids were doing based on their cultural experiences. And that helped me then intervene differently than just using an institutional lens.
Right.
And so that's what I try to get across to my students as well, is that by using the techniques that we have in good teaching, and in special ed particularly, the different frameworks that we use, how do we turn those frameworks into good intervention?
Yeah.
But by using cross-cultural and intersectional kind of additions or lenses
Right.
to see them.
Right. That's so important. Yeah. 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 That's yes. I mean, it's interesting
It
because
gives you a lot to think about.
yeah, well, it's interesting because it should be common sense, right?
Yeah.
To just think about other people, not in a way that doesn't center your own self and your own beliefs and your own morals and your own culture. But I think that we rarely do that without active attempts to do that. So that is really that's terrific. Do you so do you have strategies in place that I mean, you've talked a little bit about talking with students now about understanding where they come from and that how that can shape that lens. But you know, you and I have talked about I am on the job hunt, as it were, and will hopefully be a junior faculty soon. So what advice would you give to me or somebody in my shoes to really you know, make certain that we are shaping those syllabi and shaping those assignments and those expectations to be more diverse and equity based or driven?
Right. Well, one of the things that I do, and I don't necessarily recommend that everyone do this right off the bat, but um, make sure that your syllabi for your classes are living documents, and that as you recognize that something isn't perfect in your syllabus, revise it right then and there so that it's ready to go for the next year. And so, like, I've been doing that with my rubrics and the different parts of my syllabus for the last 10 years. And every year I feel like class gets easier because the answers really are in the syllabus.
Right.
My syllabi are 24 pages long or more,
Yeah.
which is kind of excessive. But the other part of why I am okay with that is that I also am a first generation college student. And so I do believe that civil rights live in the paperwork, as a sped teacher should. And so I believe that if I have a first generation college student who may not know how college works, my syllabus should give them a really good idea about how to be successful.
Yeah.
So I have really well-defined instructions for each assignment that are improved every time. And my rubrics are well developed and I try to improve them every time. I use the technology to to the extent that I can and try to get better every time to support good learning.
Yeah.
And I use the techniques of good instruction, right? Like, it's not, it's not, I don't leave learning up to chance, right? I'm a special ed teacher through and through, even though I'm teaching typically developing graduate students.
Yeah.
And so, we talk a lot about in my program, I talk a lot with my general ed colleagues about constructivist perspectives and problem solving versus direct instruction or explicit instruction. I'm definitely in the explicit. I use universal design for everything. And that, I mean, you literally have to try to do things wrong in my class.
Yeah. Yeah.
But those, I tell my students often that I want you to teach like I do.
Yeah.
Not because I'm the best teacher, but because there's a reason why I'm teaching the way I'm teaching.
Yeah.
Because this is helpful to people who need this kind of help.
Right. And I think that when we talk about accessibility, you could, it's kind of like that, you could build the stairs first and then build the ramp, or you could just build the ramp and everybody can use it.
That's right.
That kind of a conversation. And, having a living document, I would assume, is also really helpful with, things like language. We're constantly learning new and better and more appropriate ways to address one another and to speak to one another. And so I really love that idea of having a living document, so that we can show that we're open to having those corrections made when and if they need to be made. So what I'm going to wrap up here with just talking about what you're looking forward to as far as the TED conference is coming up. So you're going to, as we mentioned, you're going to be part of that keynote panel. I'd love to hear just a tease maybe about what you think about when you think about how that conversation will go. I know there's some really great people that are going to be there this year that are going to talk about specifically diversity.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited that you're going to be involved in that.
Yeah. So, I mean, the details that I've received so far are slim, but uh, like I said before, I was just so excited to be asked to be part of it. So I'm excited to show up and see what happens. To tell you the truth, the organizers told me that I don't have to prepare anything, that they'll have questions from the audience, and that we'll just be able to have great conversations. And I'll tell you that I live in one of the easiest places in the country to be gay, at Portland, Oregon, right?
Yeah.
And I know that that is not a luxury that is enjoyed by most special ed teachers in the United States, or college professors. And so I just want to be able to be a resource and to offer an opinion and to listen and kind of offer the services of the LGBTQ caucus of special educators, if we can be of use to you. And so that's my number one reason for being excited about this.
Yeah, I think it's going to be you're going to be a great addition to that conversation. And I think that we both can say without hesitation that the LGBTQ plus caucus is really hopeful to bring in some more folks into our fold to increase
Yes.
our visibility and increase these conversations about intersectionality. Well, I really appreciate your time, Bryan. I know that you've got to run off of here, but thank you so much for joining us. And we really are very excited to see you in November in Richmond.
Amen. I'll see you guys there too, and say hi.
Yeah. Thank you, Bryan. Bye.
Bye.